Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to me planning or attempting to plan my May TBR. You may or may not know, but once again in May, I will attempt to participate in every single book club, read-along and readathon that I came across during a set period in April, and this will be me attempting to plan a TBR for all those events. This is part 2 of this video series, I guess. The first one was my previous video where I found all of these book events, and now I will actually attempt to plan the TBR for these reading events. This is my third time doing it, and surprisingly enough, I did not come across as many readathons and book clubs and stuff this time around, which I believe is because I started to look out for book events a bit earlier in the month than perhaps previous times. That's my hypothesis for why this is. So I actually only have, I think, a total of 6 bookish events, and then of course my own personal challenges and just preferences. We will go through everything, what books I have, what my potentials are, what my goal for each readathon and stuff will be. So we will probably be here for a while, maybe. We're gonna have to see. When I looked out for these book events, I only considered things that are happening in May, but I realized in my previous video that I forgot to mention a readathon that I'm already participating in, which is Eurovisionathon. So adding that one actually makes it to 7 book events, I believe. The way I have structured it this time is that first I'm gonna talk about my year-long challenges, meaning the challenges I'm already doing, and I'm gonna share which books I plan to read for those. We are then gonna look at book clubs, so which books I need to read for book clubs in May. And then we have the readathons. And we're gonna start with looking at the shorter readathons, like weekend ones, and then we're gonna end with the month-long readathons. This is going to get messier and messier. Of course, I will link every single book event, book club, readathon, all of that, so that you can participate as well if you'd like. But I do think that without any further ado, let's get started. Let's start with the challenges that I'm already doing. First, we have Passwordathon hosted by Books and Lala, Kayla, and the theme or the buzzword for May is flavor. It might be difficult to find something that matches this prompt, but Kayla said in her video that anything that can be made into a flavor, like a flavor in an ice cream or something like that, is allowed. Actually, I feel like I have a great book for this. So for buzzword flavor, I plan on reading As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Sulfa Katu. Lemon flavored ice cream is a flavor we know how it tastes. It's a young adult book and a breathtaking story of love and loss set amid the Syrian revolution. So contemporary, young adult, I feel like this can be heartbreaking, but it's so stunning, it's so beautiful, and I'm very excited to pick this one up actually, it's gonna be great. My second year-long challenge is my 12 books recommended by 12 friends, and I will re-attempt to read The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. This was, I believe, on my March TBR, but I never had time for it, I never got to it. I read the first 2 chapters. So my aim will be to continue with this one. I have the gorgeous Illumicrate edition of it. It's fairly short as well, which feels good. It's literally about people eating books. Book eater families in England and Scotland. This is a story of escape, a mother's savage devotion, and a queer love that will electrify readers looking for something beguiling, thrilling, strange, and new. My third year-long challenge is Globetrotterathon, hosted by Kevin, where we are reading books from different parts of the world, and in May we need to read a book that somehow relates to Southern Africa. In April's prompt we had Northern Africa. For that one I picked a Nigerian book, so I need to be further south than Nigeria, which was actually trickier than you would think, because many of the books recommended when you search for like African books or stuff are from like Nigeria or Ghana or similar, so I struggled a bit. But then I found a book representing Zimbabwe, and that book is Glory by No Violet Bulawayo. I just picked this up from the library, and I think this can be I think this can be extremely interesting because it's a satire, alright? A long time ago, in a bountiful land not so far away, the animal denises lived quite happily. A charismatic horse who commanded the sun and ruled and kept on ruling. For 40 years he ruled, with the help of his elite band of chosen ones. Glory tells the story of a country seemingly trapped in a cycle as old as time. I consider this to be like a modern Animal Farm. I don't know if that even makes sense, but instead of following humans, we are following animals. And it's sort of like this horse is the leader, and then there will come an uprising, a revolution and stuff. And I'm extremely intrigued by this one. I know that Kayla read this one and really enjoyed it, I think. So I'm extremely curious. I'm glad I did some research and found this book, because the author she was born in Zimbabwe and lived there for her first 18 years basically. So this definitely counts for the Globetrotterathon prompt, and I'm super excited. The next year-long challenge is I'm trying to read at least a non-fiction a month. Or my aim is actually to read 12 throughout the year. I'm trying to split it so it's at least one a month. And I'm actually doing quite well with that one so far. So I don't think I necessarily need to read a non-fiction in May. But I'm gonna share some options that I might pick up, because I'm actually in a non-fiction mood. I'm listening to memoirs. I'm in such a history mood as well. Like, I want to learn shit. I want to get some more general knowledge. I want to understand how the world works. So I'm actually super excited about non-fictions lately, which is really cool. So I'm gonna share some options I have in case I plan on picking up a non-fiction, just like a vibe of what I'm feeling. First we have Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Obviously I started this one ages ago and I never completed it. I want to restart this one and actually finish it and annotate it while I read it. I was learning so much when I read this one, but then I put it aside and never picked it up. It is a bit too challenging for the month I have ahead of me, so I don't think this will be the one I will pick up, but this is definitely the one I'm the most in the mood for, because I'm in a history type of mood. I don't know what's going on, but I want to learn history and where we come from and why countries turned out the way they did and all of that. Second option is Smoke Is In Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. This is like a TBR vet for me. I've had this so long on my TBR. It's a memoir from someone who works in a crematory, and I think it can be really interesting and insightful. Final one, which I'm just throwing in because it's tiny AF, and that's a little book compendium, whatever you would like to call it. Basically called This Is How You Become a Millionaire from the Hangmat? What's it called? The thing. Hammock. From the hammock. My brother gave this to me. Now that it's getting warmer and we're getting closer to summer, perhaps I should learn how to become a millionaire this summer. 100 pages. It would be a quick read. Perhaps I might need it for some of the prompts. I'm gonna put it here as an option, an alternative, and we are gonna see if I will use it or not. Those are my main challenges. There are also 2 book clubs that I plan on participating in. Let's talk about those. First one is the Literally Dead book club hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala. Every time I've done this challenge, I have participated in Literally Dead book club, and it has actually been quite great. I'm very happy that I'm participating again. The book that Literally Dead book club will be reading in May is called Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McLeod Chapman. Whisper Down the Lane is a thriller horror inspired by, I'm reading from my screen now, but it's inspired by the Mac Martin preschool trials and the satanic panic of the 80s. True crime based horror novel. Definitely not my go-to type of book, but it will be very interesting. The issue is though, I haven't really been able to find this book anywhere. It's not on Scribd, either as an ebook or audiobook. My library don't have it, so I'm gonna buy it now to my Kobo. Watch me buy it now, so that I'm accountable to read it in May. I'm committing to reading this book. And checking out, please wait. Secure card payment. Woohoo. Please wait, I am freaking waiting. Thank you for your purchase. Finally, nice, got the book, perfect. That's the first book club. Second book club is called the 20-something book club. It's hosted by Mafalda and Casey, and the book that they are reading in May is called People Person by Candice Carty-Williams. The thing with this book that I actually didn't realize before I picked it up is that it's written by the same author as one who wrote Queenie, which I attempted to read in February and DNF'd because I wasn't vibing with it. So that has me a tad bit worried. The reason I DNF'd Queenie was because I just found it to be too depressing. I got it recommended to me as a book that celebrated being single, or where the main character ended up being single, or that somehow didn't focus much on the relationship part of it, I guess. But I found it to be so sad and depressing, but it wasn't something I wanted to read at the time. So perhaps it was just a case of wrong timing for me, I don't know. Here it says, if you could choose your family, you wouldn't choose the Penningtons. Dimple Pennington knew of her half-siblings, but she didn't really know them. 5 people who don't have anything in common except for faint memories of being driven through Brixton in their dad's gold Jeep and some pretty complex abandonment issues. Yeah, this one sounds depressing as well. A catastrophic event brings her half-siblings crashing back into her life. Oh, I like this actually. Look, they made like a little QR code for Spotify for the official playlist of the book. I like that. That's a fun touch. Another contemporary, complicated family situation, stuff like that. I'm intrigued but also scared because of previous experiences. Not that I didn't like the author, I just didn't like the themes, I guess. And with both book clubs, I will try and find out when they will be hosting the live show discussions for the books. If they even do that, I don't know about the 20-something book club, maybe. If I'm able to, I will attempt to join those discussions once again to hold myself accountable. That's it for the book clubs. Let's now get to the Readathons. And we are gonna start with the final book support group, round 7, which is a long weekend edition. The final book support group is hosted by Steph from Steph Loves. It will be happening between the 26th of May until the 29th. So Friday to Monday you have the entirety of those 4 days to read, and there is a bingo board that you can use if you like. I might try and aim for a bingo, but I think my main aim for this weekend is to read and finish 2 books. If I can do that, I will see this as a win. It might not seem like much, but the issue is I don't have that many short sequels on my physical TBR. I mainly have chunkers, sequels to epic fantasies. And like reading that within 4 days can be tricky, even during the best of circumstances. The 2 options I do have, or the 2 books I will be aiming to read in May for final book support group, is first we have The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient series. I've had this on multiple TBRs, multiple final book support group TBRs as well, and I still haven't gotten to it. These books I know I can read quite quickly. It's about 330 pages, but like it's a rom-com, it's funny, it's romantic. I know I can fly through it. So this is definitely the one I will be aiming for that weekend. I'm very excited about this. I don't know much about this book in particular. I don't really know the tropes that are in this book or anything like that, but I know I have enjoyed the other books. Both of them I have given 4 stars, so I'm fairly certain I will enjoy this one as well, and that it will be fun and sexy and a good time. The next continuation in a series, or the final book in a series that I have, is Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, the 3rd book in the Illuminifile series. I actually bought this quite recently, so this one hasn't been on that many TBRs. It has been on 1. It was on my March TBR, but other than that, it's been fine. This is a young adult sci-fi story told with mixed media, meaning chat logs, surveillance footage, documents, random stuff. So it looks really cool actually. And because it's written in this really interesting way, even though it's about 600 pages, it's actually a fairly quick read because you fly through the pages quite quickly. I do think it's doable for me to finish these 2 within 4 days if I really aim to read that weekend. And if I can complete them, I will see that as a win and I will earn a book buying prompt. So the thing with the book buying prompts, I forgot to talk about this. Basically, I have some rules for when I get to buy a new book, and some of those rules are that I need to finish like a readathon, or I need to complete my monthly TBR or similar. So that's why I'm setting up goals for these readathons as well, just so that the TBRs don't get too overwhelming, I guess. I still want them to be fairly realistic, but also challenging, both at the same time. To earn a prompt for the final book support group, I need to read 2 books, and also if I complete all 5 previous books that I mentioned, meaning my Passwordathon book, my 12 books recommended by 12 friends, the Globetrotterathon book, and the 2 book club books, so Literally Dead and 20 something, I will also allow myself to buy a book. I don't know if it makes sense for you. You don't really need to think about this too much, but it makes sense for me when I do this planning. Next readathon that is currently going on is the Eurovisionathon. It started, I believe, on the 15th of April and it's going on until the 13th of May, when we have the Eurovision Song Contest finale. The idea here is to read books that relates to the competitors in Eurovision Song Contest, and then you get points based on how that country does in the actual song contest. It's a lot of fun. It's hosted by Helen's Bookhaven. I have participated every single time. I already mentioned in my April TBR that my goal with Eurovisionathon is to read 5 books for the readathon. So as long as I can track 5 books for it, I will be happy. I have so far only done 1. I might get 2 done this week. The 2 I have read are for Romania, randomly enough, and then also United Kingdom. So basically my May TBR for Eurovisionathon will just be to reach those 5. I have actually 2 ideas of books I would like to pick up. One of the books is a Fredrik Backman book, of course. I need to represent Sweden and Backman, obviously. And it's called Things My Son Needs to Know About the World. It was on my April TBR. I won't have time for it, I know that. So I'm putting this on my May TBR instead. It's quite short, not even 200 pages, and like very, very small. It's basically Fredrik Backman writing notes and anecdotes to his son, I guess. The second book I want to read is actually an older book, a sort of classic. I want to read the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So Franz Kafka was a Czech-Austrian author, and I want to count this book for the Czech Republic, since my family is from Czech and I have actually never read a Kafka book before. I believe it's fairly short as well. I think I'm gonna pick it up as an ebook. I think it's available both on Scribd and just like on iBooks, so that is perfect. I might listen to it, I don't know. Please let me know if you recommend Metamorphosis as a reading experience or physical text experience like an ebook, or as an audiobook. I would love to know that. Those are 2 books I hope to pick up for Eurovisionathon, which sort of leaves a 3rd book to be picked. Is there anything amongst the ones I've talked about already? It's a struggle. You know what? Feel free to recommend me any book from a country participating in Eurovision Song Contest this year. Okay, next readathon is a month-long readathon. Yes, we are getting to the month-long ones now, but this one is a readathon where you need to read the books in a certain order. And what I'm talking about is Desertathon, hosted by Esme from Paradise of Pages and Bookish Buddies. This time we have like a route. We have a map of where we should go and what prompts we need to read for each place on the map. And you are allowed to pick between a route that has 4 prompts or a route with 7 prompts. And to make my life more difficult, I have decided to go for the 7 prompt long route. So in order for me to complete and win this readathon, I need to read 7 books in a particular order as well. Obviously the idea of Desertathon is to read a desert vibe book, but it's not a requirement for the books. First prompt is dig up an old book. I think the idea is that you are supposed to pick a TBR vet from your shelves, but I'm gonna help myself out a bit and say that any old book counts, and for this one I will count Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, because I looked it up and it was published back in the 70s, and I think that counts because that's most likely the oldest book I have amongst the books I'm talking about today. I didn't say what this book is about, but that's because I kind of don't know. But I think it's about a man who one day wakes up as some type of bug or something. It's also called like The Transformation or something like that. It's another title for the book. It's gonna be bizarre, it's gonna be interesting, but I feel like it's time that I read some Kafka. Next one is Wasteland, a book outside of your comfort zone. For this one, I'm gonna count Whisper Down the Lane, or Your Lane, or what was it called? The horror thriller book, the satanic book. Definitely something out of my comfort zone. I could use Kafka for this one as well, to be fair. Even though I'm getting more into horror, I haven't dived that deep into horror yet. So this will definitely be interesting, and I feel like amongst my options, this is definitely the one that's most out of my comfort zone. Next prompt is Oasis, and here we have a comfort read. So, compensating from that previous prompt. And for this one, I will count the Bachman book. We all know why. I love Fredrik Backman. His books and his writing is comforting for me. It's my favorite author. Obviously, this will be a comfortable read, even though it could make me cry. Next prompt is Bazar, and here we have Bustling, a quick read. Now for this one, I did have a lot of options. And like I did mention this random millionaire handbook, whatever thing. But there's actually one book I've been wanting to read this last month or so. And that is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien 2 by Yomni Sun. This is a graphic novel about aliens trying to fit in and explain life and all of that, I think. It's about an alien who was sent to study Earth. Always feeling apart, even among other aliens, Yomni feels at home for the first time among the creatures of Earth. Through the story of a lost, lonely and confused alien finding friendship, acceptance and love among the animals and plants of Earth, we will all learn how to be a little more human. I've heard amazing things. I'm super excited. I feel like this will pull at my heartstrings. It will make me smile. It's gonna be foolish. It's gonna be cute. I'm very, very excited to pick this one up. And since it is a graphic novel with not a lot of text, this can definitely be a quick read. Next prompt is Shrine, a gorgeous cover. For this one, I plan on reading As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. The reason I asked for this book is because I think it looks beautiful, like the blue with the gold and the yellow and like the tree, and I think it's beautiful. I like this cover a lot. So yeah, this will be my gorgeous cover read. Next prompt, Ruins, a book with mythology and or lore. Here we have Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood. This was April's Illumicrate book, I believe, and it's inspired by Greek mythology, so obviously it works with the prompt. It's also gorgeous, beautiful with the gold foiling, the stenciled edges. It's gorgeous underneath the dust jacket as well. Like, look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. I think this is a stunning book, actually. In a cursed kingdom of Ithaca, each summer brings the hanging of 12 maidens, a gift to the vengeful Poseidon. For 17 years, Leto has escaped the curse's mark, until now. I don't really know that much about Greek mythology, and definitely not what has inspired this story, but I'm excited about it, and it works with the prompt. Final prompt in Desertathon is Sunfall, to read a desert vibe book. And I'm gonna throw out a little nudge to the host herself, Esme, and I will once again attempt to read The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier, one of Esme's favorite books. It is definitely a desert vibe book, and I actually tried to read this for one of the previous Desertathon readathons. I just simply didn't have time for it. I'm 80 pages in, and I think it's fine that I'm picking up a book I have already started. This is a retelling of 1001 Nights or something like that, I think. Yeah, 1001 Nights. So it's inspired by that, or a retelling. It's about someone who's married off to the prince or the king, and she stays alive by telling stories each night. It's young adult, it's fantasy romance, I believe, and it's perfect for this readathon. So gonna knock this one out again, hopefully, fingers crossed. Another readathon done. So if I read all of these 7 books, or at least if I read for all the 7 prompts, I will see this as a win, and I will be allowed to purchase a new book. Those were the readathons I had sort of planned. Now we're getting to the readathons that I haven't really been able to plan that much, because fortunately, in some ways, these readathons are quite open and or free. They don't really have any rules attached to them, which is awesome. But that also makes it a bit trickier in my planning. The next readathon that I will be participating in is the Royal Readathon, the Epic Eras edition, hosted by Becca and Liv. This is my first time joining in on a Royal Readathon, and it will be a lot of fun. This one is inspired by the different eras in Disney history, Disney timeline, I guess. What I would like to do is actually to read a book for each era. If I can do that, I will be happy. So my goal for this readathon will be to read 6 books. Let's start with Bronze Era. Here we have the prompt Pinocchio. Read a horror/thriller. Gonna count Whisper Down the Lane. Perfect choice. Great. Silver Era, we have either to read a book with learning or read a book with adventure. I feel like many of these could work. The host also explained in their announcement video that like learning can literally be anything. It can just be that the character goes to school. It can be that someone is like an apprentice or a scholar. It is very broad. But I don't know if I have a book about someone learning shit. Adventure then. We have adventure in the Illuminate series. They are on a spaceship in space. Lies We Sing to the Sea. Is this an adventure? Does book eaters have anything to do with learning? Let me know if any of the books I have mentioned feature a student or an adventure. Next era is the Golden Era. Here we need to read either a book set in a city or a book with an animal on the cover. Do I have a book with an animal on the cover? Does an alien count? The Buckman book. No animal. Oh wait, there is! The Buckman book has a snail on the cover, right below the IKEA bag. A snail is an animal, so perfect. I will read this one for Aristocats. Read a book with an animal on the cover. We then have the Renaissance, everyone's favorite era. Here we either need to read a book with strength or a book with societal standards. I don't quite remember what they said about societal standards, like how that works. So a book with strength, someone strong. Mentally strong? Maybe. The Heart Principle, we have a tattooed dude with muscles. He could be strong. Societal standards, what did you mean by that? I need to look at the video, I think. Okay, I rewatched the video. They are saying any form of peer pressure, societal standard, anything like that. Maybe people person, like pressure about how Dimple Pennington should ask in regards to getting to know her siblings. And like peer pressure from being an influencer and stuff. Let's go with that. Post-Renaissance, either read an underrated book or a book with found family. I don't know. None of these books are underrated. Let me know if any of these books have found family or is underrated. Perhaps this one is underrated. Finally, Revival. Here we have 4 prompts to choose from. We have a book with a sun on the cover, a book with transformation, a book with a shiny cover, I do have that, a book with a small community. Shiny cover, easy decision, right? Lies We Sing to the Sea. Very, very, and I mean very shiny. Perfect, let's go. And then final readathon is the May the Force read with you. My goal for this one is to read 5 books for this readathon. I don't know anything about Star Wars. I really don't. I've seen the first 3 movies, or the main 3 that everyone counts, like episode 4, 5, 6, I guess. This is sort of like a build your own adventure and character type of readathon, which is great. It's hosted by Break Even Books. I have 0 opinions about Star Wars, so I just sort of base this on, I guess, what I can match with the best or something. You get to pick like the light side, dark side, if you want to join the Jedi Order or the Sith Order. I said I wanted to do light side abilities, so like reading a non-fiction. Gonna do that, maybe, potentially. Plant search, so a book with a plant on the cover. I do have this one, As Long as Lemon Trees Grow, because we have a freaking tree here. A book with less than 275 pages. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just making jokes. Or no, the Buckman book actually. Perfect. This is about 190 pages. A borrowed book. I do have 2 library books with me, so like Lori or People Person. If I read 5 books for this, I'm gonna be happy. I don't know much about Star Wars, I'm sorry, but I will still join. I will link this one. It looks beautiful, like the templates for this. It's so much fun. You get to pick a species, you get to learn abilities and have your own weapon. and have a partner and stuff. Like, it seems great. Oh my god, how many books does that even add up to? I have no freaking clue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I believe that adds up to about 12 books. Not impossible, not likely. But it will be very interesting to follow up on this. Final thing that I do attempt to do in my TBR videos is to mention anticipated releases for the month. I'm gonna do that real quickly now, and we will see how this goes. On the 16th, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang is released. It's her first contemporary. I love R.F. Kuang. I'm super excited about this one. I have pre-ordered the beautiful Waterstone edition. I don't know when I will get it, honestly, which is why I haven't included it in this TBR, but it is very likely that the moment I get this book, I might just drop everything and only read that one. Another book I'm excited about, also released on the 16th, is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I have read 2 Christina Lauren books so far. I have really enjoyed them, so I'm excited to read another romance. We then have Wasteland by Nancy Crochet, released on the 30th of May. This sounds like something that's up my alley because I'm an Elvis Presley fan, and this book is about 3 generations that are on a road trip to Wasteland in Memphis. Next book is Hula by Yasmin Iolani Hakis. It's released on the 2nd, and it takes place on Hawaii. It features tradition, culture, generations. I don't know much other than the fact that the cover is beautiful. And final book released on the 2nd is Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati, and it's another Greek mythology retelling type of book. Those are some anticipated releases in May for me. That's it for this video. We did we're done. Do we have a plan? I think so. What am I most excited about? I think I'm the most excited about this one, Glory, actually. And then obviously the Bachman book. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will stick around to see how this insane experiment will go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!